All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of the University Transfer Fair. Thank you so much for attending our 10 o'clock session with UNC Chapel Hill. Today we're welcoming Beth Ann Wilbur. Please reserve your questions for the end of her presentation. So we're going to give her some time to present, and then please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A box above the team screen. And then we will go ahead and ask Beth Ann all of your questions, and she will take the time to answer them. And also, please stick around until the end, because we will be sending out a student survey, because we do encourage your feedback just to make sure that you got what you needed from this session and if we can improve on anything. So definitely stick around for that. And again, go ahead and take it away, Beth Ann, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome, everybody. My name is Beth Ann Wilbur. I technically work for the Carolina Student Transfer Excellence Program at UNC Chapel Hill, but I work with all transfer students, so all are welcome here. I'm just going to give a brief overview of undergraduate admissions as it relates to transfer students. This is more of a condensed presentation than what I would usually give, because I know that you guys have so many awesome questions, and I don't want to drag on and on. So without further ado. So yeah, UNC Chapel Hill, we are a top 5 public university in the country and top 30 university overall in the United States, and we are very proud of the impressive ways our students and faculty are making an impact on the world, allowing us to continue as a top tier destination for the nation and the world's brightest students. We're a comprehensive, mid-sized research institution with about 19,000 undergraduates, about a 13-to-1 student-faculty ratio. So that's a fantastic ratio for a school of our size. And depending on your major, you might have classes that are up to 100, 200 students and as low as 5 students. So just keep that in mind as well. We have over 70 majors across the sciences, arts, humanities, and professional studies. So we have 13 professional schools. That would include the School of Nursing, School of Public Health, Keenan Flagler School of Business, among others. And about 78% of our classes have under 40 students. So that's a really great ratio as well for a school of our size. Yeah, so as a top university, we have a wide range of programs for students. About 70 of those majors fall into the following colleges. And you'll see, so the College of Arts and Sciences is its own block school. So it has most of our majors in it. Everything else is considered a professional school where you would apply to that school directly, and they would review your application individually from the College of Arts and Sciences. In the College of Arts and Sciences, if you decide to apply, let's say, to biology, we would read your application in conjunction with all others. We don't read you as just a biology student. So versus other schools in the state who might read you just for engineering or just for English. We read you as a student in the College of Arts and Sciences, which is a huge positive for a lot of our students. It gives you a lot of flexibility, and then if you are admitted to Carolina, easy to change your major, super simple to kind of change paths. So, also Carolina, because of the way that we have things kind of set up, it sets up students really well for graduate school, any kind of professional careers that you might want to do. So if you decide to do the School of Dentistry, our pre-dentistry track really sets you up well for actual dentistry school after undergraduate studies. So very impressive stats here, about 30,000 internship opportunities. When you think about the word internship, it might feel like some kind of, floating entity of like, how do I get an internship? How do I do research? How do I study abroad? What does this mean? But once you are admitted to Carolina, all of these things are in place to help students. Our career services will help with research. Professors will also help with the same thing with internship opportunities, co-ops, spending a gap year off to do something that interests you. Same thing with study abroad. So one thing that I always tell transfer students is to make sure if you want to study abroad, I would go to the study abroad office as soon as possible, right when you arrive. Especially if you know you want to spend a semester or longer, so that you'll have more time to plan out your coursework. Versus someone who came in right off the bat, has all 4 years, they have a little bit more leeway. But it's definitely possible for all transfer students to do it. So I always suggest do it earlier. Yeah, so there's so many ways to get involved at Carolina. Like this says, 900 plus student organizations to choose from. Some of our most popular for transfer students, just in general. So we've got fraternity, sorority, life, athletics, different ways to get involved in housing. You can live in one of our living learning communities that's specifically for transfer students. So that's a really great way to get to know other transfers just from across the country, not just from North Carolina. We also have a transfer specific club on campus called Tar Heel Transfers. That's for both C-STEP and all transfers in general. They host so many events during the year. They're a very active club. Just last week, they hosted what's called speed friending, which is kind of like speed dating, but instead you're just kind of there to try to make friends. And it was a virtual event, which made things super easy. But from what I heard, it was an awesome event. Next week, they're doing a hot chocolate little stand, like table in the middle of the pit, right in the middle of campus, that you could just stop by and grab some hot chocolate. So those are just a couple of ways that you could get involved. But of course, with 900 plus organizations, you could probably find pretty much anything that you would want to do. So here's just a little bit about C-STEP. For those of you who have 30 credit hours or less towards your associate degree, you would qualify for C-STEP at this time. Our next deadline is April 1st, so you should consider it sooner than later. Essentially, we are looking for low to moderate income students who might need some extra help as they transition to a four-year institution, specifically Carolina. If you are admitted to C-STEP, you are automatically admitted to Carolina, so long as you complete your associate degree, either your associate in arts or associate in science, and you have a 3.2 cumulative GPA upon graduating with your associate degree. So if right now you're at like a 3.1 or 3.0 or wherever you are, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't qualify for C-STEP right now, and we encourage all interested students to apply. So during your time at Wake Tech, you would participate in all of our programming, both social, academic. So just for an example, this coming spring, we have shadow days that are just starting back up after COVID, which is very exciting, where our Wake Tech students in C-STEP and our partner schools from across the country or from across the state will come to Carolina, shadow a UNC C-STEP student who's already transitioned for a day. So you can go to a couple of classes, maybe eat lunch in the dining hall, walk around campus, all of that good stuff. So that's just one example of a way that you would get to know Carolina before you actually got here and you kind of have your footing. You would also have a team of advisors at Wake Tech, and you would also have a team of advisors, me included, at Carolina to kind of help you with everything that college has to offer. Yeah, so these words come in really slowly. Essentially, what I want you to get away from this slide is we read completely holistically with transfers and for C-STEP and for every single application. We are very proud of that holistic review. So there's no single number, there's no single aspect of your application that we are looking for. And I truly mean that when I say that. Everything has its own weight in a way. And so regardless of what you think might happen or what you think you might get, if you might get admitted or denied, whatever, we encourage you to apply anyway because you never know. We are truly building a community here at Carolina, so we are looking at you as a person. And as long as your application conveys that in the best way that you can, that will help your chances of getting in. So you'll need to fill out the common application. We'll also need your North Carolina residency, so that will definitely help with, obviously, in-state tuition. We have an $85 application fee, and also bear in mind, it's already February 9th. The application is due February 15th, so you do still have a little bit of time to get it in. You can request a fee waiver if that's what you need. Extracurricular activities, definitely list everything that you're doing, work experience, no matter what you do. If you babysit, if you help with your family, if you do things at Wake Tech, if you have hobbies outside of school, whatever that is. We've got a couple of essays, 2 short answers, and then we also have a few extra little short answers. When I say short, I mean really short. I think they're like 24 words or shorter. So that's kind of a little fun thing we've added recently. We need at least 1 letter of recommendation, although I would suggest 1, maybe 2. And I always suggest students, if you can get one that is more academic based, that would be awesome, because that shows a little bit of who you are in the classroom besides just the numbers on your transcript or your test scores. Right now, our test scores are optional, which is really great. If you feel like, you know what, I did really well on the SAT and I was really proud of my score, go ahead and add it. But if you don't want to, you absolutely don't have to. And then we need your official transcripts from high school and Wake Tech, and then any other college you might have attended. Even if you just enrolled, we still need that transcript. And like, even if you just had like a W on your transcript from that school, we still will need that transcript. So like I said, February 15th, FAFSA and CSS profile, keep in mind March 1st, and then the deadline to enroll is in May. So also professional schools may vary in that, and you would find out from them if you were admitted, let's say, to the School of Business. If they want you to commit sooner than that May deadline, then they would be very specific about that. Yeah, so for transfer students specifically, all of our financial aid is need-based. We are committed to meeting 100% of your demonstrated need based on FAFSA and CSS profile. And the CSS profile kind of works hand in hand with FAFSA. While FAFSA gives a more broad view of your finances and it's very valuable, CSS profile kind of fills in those details. And so that's why we require both of those. The CSS profile does have a $25 fee associated with it, but you can request a fee waiver through the CSS profile if that's something that you need. Carolina Covenant is a fantastic program. 1 in 3 Carolina students are part of the Covenant, and essentially you will graduate from Carolina completely debt-free. They pay for books, housing, dining, everything that you can think of, health insurance, the whole 9 yards. So if nothing else, that's definitely a reason to apply to Carolina. Yeah, so there's a couple of links at the bottom there. I'll also put my email in the chat if I'm able to, so you can send me an email directly. And we also are doing walk-ins right now. We have tours, transfer specific tours, and then just like in general, just tours. Coming up this spring, we will have more transfer specific tours, and then if you are admitted to Carolina, there will be transfer admit tours as well, and also tons of other opportunities. So with that, I guess I'll open up the floor to questions. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Beth Ann. That was some great information. Yes, you are able, Beth, to put your contact information. If you scroll to the top, there's like 2 little bubbles. One of them has a question mark. If you just click on that, you can type your email and contact information in there, and that will go out to students.
Okay.
If you can't find it, I can put it in there. Let me go ahead and unshare that for you.
Okay. Let's see.
All right.
All right. So at this time, students, go ahead, or anybody who has questions, please feel free to type them in that Q&A box. It looks like Beth is putting her contact information there. Don't forget to stick around for the survey. And at this time, Anthony, if you want to go ahead and read some of those questions that we're getting, that would be extremely helpful. helpful.
Yes. So the first question we have is from Pearl Hill. So question is, if we have not been admitted to UNC Chapel Hill yet, can we still join the C-STEP clubs or the C-STEP program?
Yes, so that's an excellent question. So C-STEP is for students who have not been admitted to Carolina. So just to back it up, for example, let's say this past fall 2021, was your first semester at Wake Tech. Let's say you took 15 hours, okay? And then this spring is your second semester, you're taking 15 more hours. So by the end of May, by the end of your May courses, you will have 30 hours total. That means that you are still eligible for C-STEP, but your eligibility would run out after this next deadline. So I would encourage you to apply by our April 1st deadline if you're interested. The application is completely free. It's honestly more of a form than an application. It really doesn't take very long to fill out, and it's much more centered on the student themselves. So you know yourself the best. So that's kind of what our essays and short answers are revolving around. So yes, and then let's say you are admitted to C-STEP by the end of April. That would be great. You would get started at Wake Tech in C-STEP right away. So we have 2 C-STEP advisors at Wake Tech right now. They have tons of events going on. We would come visit this fall, and then also next spring. We would help you through the transfer process, but essentially you are guaranteed a spot at Carolina. You just have to earn your associate degree with a 3.2 cumulative GPA. So I hope that that overview kind of clears things up. Happy to answer further questions about it.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, so the next question is, what are the requirements for the Carolina Covenant?
Another excellent question. So it's all dependent on this kind of algorithm that our financial aid office at scholarships and student aid, when they look at your FAFSA and CSS profile, it spits out a number. And if you are falling within the guidelines of Carolina Covenant, and things have changed a little bit in past years, so I'm not going to give too many details about it just because I'm not 100% sure. Then you would find out if you were eligible for it or not. But even if you aren't eligible for Carolina Covenant, students receive a lot more aid than they think they will most of the time. So it might be that you are just above the threshold of Carolina Covenant, but your entire tuition might be covered plus housing, and you might just have to pay for dining and books, which at the end of the day is a pretty good deal for the year. So if you have further questions about Carolina Covenant, I can copy and paste the link to Carolina Covenant, or you can just like Google UNC Carolina Covenant. And their website, they just redid it. It's fantastic. There's even a little question chat box that you can ask questions in, or you can call Office of Scholarship and Student Aid and just ask questions about kind of what their process is like.
All right, great, thank you. So if I complete my associate's degree here at Wake Tech, will I enter UNC as a junior?
Yes, so yes, and that's especially true if you earn the articulation agreement. I don't want to go too far into that if you already know what that is. But if you earn that 60 block credit hours, you are guaranteed to come to Carolina as a junior. If you earn your associate degree and let's say you got a D in one class, so you didn't get the articulation agreement, there is a chance that you would come in as what's technically a second semester sophomore. That does happen. So it all depends on your credits and how your pathway is kind of going in terms of your academics.
Okay, so next question is there little or big difference when turning in SAT or ACT scores because still in high school and they make a big deal?
Yeah. So are you, okay, I guess I can't ask a follow-up question, but I wonder if this student is planning to apply as a transfer or as a first year? Because the first year application already passed, but regardless, no, it does not make a difference. We have, I think I heard a stat the other day that about half of our applicants this year did not submit test scores. And like I said, because we read completely holistically, if you don't submit something, okay, we'll just continue on with your application with what we have. So if you decide, you know what, I didn't do as well on my ACT as I wanted to, and but I've done really well in high school up to this point, like whatever that means to you, then don't submit it. Don't give it to us. It's okay.
All right. So let's see. If you are currently finishing a semester, would it be okay to send an unofficial transcript?
That's an excellent question. So we will need the official transcript. And so that would go all the way through fall of 2021. And if you wanted to show us what you were doing this semester, it would be on that official transcript, but you could also attach your course schedule. And that could literally be like a screenshot or just take a picture and put it in a PDF and send it to us that way, just as like an additional add-on to your application. But if you send your official transcript, it should be, your course schedule should be on your that transcript, but we will need the official.
All right, so the next question is, where can we apply to C-STEP?
Great question. It's on the UNC admissions website. I know I've already said this, but I'm big into Google. If you literally just Google UNC C-STEP application, it's the first link that comes up. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. There's a ton of instructions and really good information. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and start the application there. It's totally free.
All right, so the next question is, would CS fall under information science?
I believe they mean computer science by CS.
Computer science.
Yeah, another great question. It does not. So currently computer science, that's kind of a Pandora's box. So right now, computer science is kind of in flux. They're about to move to an application system. And right now they're in the College of Arts and Sciences. But because there are so many students who want to do computer science, this coming fall, and they're still not sure what they're going to do with transfers, unfortunately. No matter what we do or say, they still are not quite sure what they're going to do with transfers. We're really hoping that they will allow all incoming transfers for this year to come in. But if you apply to computer science, it's in the College of Arts and Sciences right now.
Beth,
So
I have a question myself. Sorry, Anthony. Just to go back a little bit about if a student can enter as a junior after 60 credits. Okay, I know you said that they can, but what if the student doesn't quite have exactly everything that's on the BDPs that you guys have? Does that matter at all? Or as long as they've got the 60 transferable credits, they would be in their, per se, junior year?
Yeah, it depends on a few things. I'm trying to think of a concise way to say this. So certainly if they get the articulation agreement, they are definitely coming in as a junior. If that example that I gave, if they were right on the verge of getting the articulation agreement and they got 1D, for example, oftentimes those students will come in as second semester sophomores. It also depends on, I guess it depends on the individual student and those credits that they have. So, I mean, we can talk more about this later if you want, but it's kind of all relative in a way.
Gotcha. Okay. Just curious, like if a student was like lacking a certain class that like is maybe like if a student changes their mind, from computer science to pre-dental or whatever, maybe in their last semester and they don't have X, Y, and Z. I'm just wondering if they would have to like back up and maybe take a couple extra years. They're not quite a junior, but maybe that's more of a specific question we can talk about later.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So to clarify, and this is from Pearl Hill again, I meant the C-STEP clubs on campus, like extracurricular clubs, would like to engage with other students from the program.
So I guess I'm still not quite sure what that means. What I think, so C-STEP it's a guaranteed admission program. So we don't have like a club. We have cohorts of students, and then we have events that go on within C-STEP itself. And then the clubs on campus at UNC, those are for all transfer students, but many C-STEP students do partake in them. I don't know if that answered the question. I'm sorry.
No worries. So the next question is, I'm planning on going to the pre-dental track. What should I plan to do after transferring from Wake Tech to UNC?
Can you repeat that question?
Yes. So the student says, I'm planning on going the pre-dental track.
Mm-hmm.
What should I plan to do after transferring from Wake Tech to UNC? I guess they're trying to find out what would be their next step after they get to UNC as a pre-dental student. I'm assuming just finish like their biology degree as long as they take the prerequisites for pre-dental school, right? For dental school.
Sure, yeah. So there's a couple things you can do. If you want to go to dentistry school, so you could apply to the pre-dentistry program, which is through the School of Dentistry. But let's say you didn't want to do that, or if you weren't admitted to the School of Dentistry, you could come in and do biology, chemistry, one of the two, on a pre-med track, and make sure that you have all of the prereqs taken care of so that you can go ahead and apply to dentistry school with all of the prereqs. So you don't necessarily have to do our pre-dentistry track to go to dentistry school. It's just like a more helpful way to do it. But certainly it's just like, it's just kind of like if students want to go to law school, we do have pre-law, but you could also do English, you could do history, you could do philosophy, that kind of thing. So I guess to answer that, just make sure that you have your prereqs done for dentistry. There's also a couple of dentistry clubs at UNC. One of them is a more professional club. I think there's an honor society. So there's a bunch of things that you can do to get involved in dentistry once you get to Carolina as well.
Okay, and there's actually a question for me personally. Yeah. So what's the percentage of UNC students that get into your UNC School of Dentistry?
I do not know. I don't know the answer to that question. I would assume that you would find that on the School of Dentistry's website, but that falls outside of the undergraduate admissions.
Gotcha.
Kind of do their own thing over there.
Because from my understanding, I feel like they do take a lot of students that are not UNC students most of the time because they want to be a little bit more well-read. That's what I've heard. So I just wanted to clarify that rumor. So if there's students that already have a biochemistry degree from State or Duke, they're more likely to get into the School of Dentistry than the actual UNC students. That's what I've heard because they're looking for more diversity in students.
I cannot speak to that. I have no idea. I don't doubt you though.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'll look further into that at some point. Yeah. It's been talked about for years, so I was just wanting to clarify that.
I don't know if they would actually admit that or not. I don't know if they would straight out admit it.
Yeah.
be able to find that specific stat, but who knows?
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right. So the next question is, okay, Riley, good morning. Good morning to you too. So said, I have a few questions. How does studying abroad affect when a student would graduate? Does it usually delay the process? How can we use the comprehensive articulation agreement to our advantage, since we cannot choose which UNC school we get accepted to?
Okay, there's a few different pieces to that question, I think. The first one would be, I think we could start with how can you use the articulation agreement to your advantage? Because whatever North Carolina school you decide to come to within those 17 different ones that the articulation agreement applies to, because you'll be coming in as a junior, that frees you up for a lot of different things. That many students who are transferring in, let's say from, I don't know, Clemson, if they came in as juniors, they wouldn't necessarily get that those credit hours and all of those gen eds taken care of. You have a little bit of freedom. So let's say again, if you wanted to do biology as a major, you might have a little bit of time to tack on a minor or 2 minors in the time that it might take someone who doesn't have the articulation agreement. They might not be able to do the same thing just with the amount of time that they have, because they have to take those extra gen eds. So that's something that will also help with study abroad. And the reason why I mentioned going to study abroad sooner than later is so that you can plan out those courses. So let's say you wanted to go to Spain for a whole semester, and you know you've always wanted to do that. You want to go to Spain for a semester, great. So what I would do is go to our global office right away, right off the bat, August or September, and say, you know what, I really want to go to Spain. What are my options? What kind of programs do you have to offer a biology student? And they might have a program that would have you taking 12, 15 credits while you're in Spain, or doing some kind of research experience, or both, so that you wouldn't get behind in the meantime. So you don't have to get behind. That's kind of the point behind it. Many undergraduate students don't take a semester abroad or an abroad experience until junior, senior year anyway. So you wouldn't necessarily be behind. That's why I'm saying I would just plan it sooner than later. That would be my suggestion. And there was another part to the question, but I don't remember what it was.
I believe it was, how can we use a comprehensive articulation agreement to our advantage, since we cannot choose which UNC school we get accepted to?
UNC school. So which school you get accepted to. So we have the 13 professional schools, and then we have the College of Arts and Sciences, which it has most of our majors in it. So I guess I wish I could ask you a follow-up question of, are you planning to apply to professional school? And what do you mean by you don't get to choose? Because if you go to the College of Arts and Sciences, let's say in biology, and you decide biology, if over the summer you decide, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore, I want to do English, you could change your major at the drop of a hat. So
I think what the student was referring to was in the articulation agreement, if you get accepted to a UNC school, but there's no guarantee which one you get accepted to if you don't get accepted into the ones that you applied to. I think that's probably
not necessarily a question for a particular school. That's probably more of a question for like UNC system. So that don't feel pressured to answer that if you don't know.
Okay.
But yeah. Anyway, the next question says, does the nursing program offer transfer for RN to BSN, or only the associate in arts to BSN?
That's a really good question. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super well read on the School of Nursing specifically, because they are their own entity. I can put you in contact with someone at the School of Nursing if that might help. But I'm not well read enough to know exactly the answer to the question.
And I looked into all
no pressure.
And maybe I can answer this. So I've looked into most of the schools that are in Chapel Hill, most of the professional schools, because I was a science major as well. So I looked into most of the stuff. So basically the RN program is only a program that's particular to just community college because you're going to be a registered nurse, meaning an associate's in applied science in nursing. And the BSN is the one that you're going to use to get into the School of Nursing because you've already taken all your gen ed credits from a community college to go to professional nursing school and do your last 2 years of nursing. So to answer that question, I believe it's only AA to BSN.
Good to know.
Again,
Okay.
we have contacts for the nursing program at UNC, so if that particular student wants to reach out to Wake Tech Advisors, we can certainly put you in contact with the UNC nursing program. So again, don't feel pressured to answer that if you don't know either.
Yeah.
The next question, sorry, go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, no, I was going to say that they do have a program where, like, if you already completed an RN program, you can still get your credits you can still get credits for BSN as well, as long as you take, it's kind of like flipping basically, as long as you take all the gen ed courses that you didn't take in the RN program. If that makes sense. But yeah, definitely Blair's advice, go into the nursing professional school and find out. So on to the next question.
We'll definitely put you in contact. So the next question, go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, if I want to transfer in spring 2023, what is the deadline for application process?
Excellent question. So UNC only has fall enrollment. So if you wanted to come to Carolina, you'd have to come either apply for this coming fall or the fall of 2023. We don't have new student enrollment for the spring semesters. And every single year, our transfer application deadline is February 15th.
All right. So the next question is, would you consider AS or AA a better degree to join with UNC?
Great question. It depends on what you want to do, and absolutely not. Whichever one fits best with your academic path and what you want to do with your life, go for it. Neither is more impressive than the other. They're both equally impressive to us.
All right. So another question from Pearl Hill. So I'm interested in research opportunities, preferably full-time positions at UNC in the neuroscience and psychology program. My hope is to gain experience to enhance my application as a med student further down the line. What would you recommend as the best route to get involved with research at UNC as an undergraduate student with previous work experience in healthcare, but not specifically research?
Yeah, good one. So first place I would go is University Career Services. They would have the most comprehensive advice on what to do next. What many students will also do is either email their own professor. So if you end up getting admitted to UNC and you are in 2 neuroscience classes, you could contact your professor, see what they are up to, because we're a research institution, it's very likely that they are up to something. And if they're not, they have colleagues that are. And then also what students will do is every single faculty member has their contact. Once you're a UNC student, you can contact literally anyone on campus. It's completely open. So you could just start cold emailing people. If you know if you know of a specific type of research that you might want to do, I would suggest poking around either on Google, on the UNC's website has a lot of our research on it. Find something that you might be interested in and the person who's doing it. But really the first place I would go is University Career Services. Those are all just some ideas.
All right. So if we are submitting our application by February 15th, we can expect to hear if we are admitted, ? Did you say it was based on the program we are applying to? That was another question.
Yeah.
They're asking when can they expect to hear after the February 15th deadline?
Yes. Yes. So if you applied to the School of Nursing, you should hear by mid to late March. If you applied to pretty much any other school, I think School of Pharmacy is the same. And then if you apply to the College of Arts and Sciences or any of the other professional schools, you'll hear in early mid-April.
All right, great. So another question. I am on track to graduate this year after taking a course this summer. Would I be considered as a junior for transfer purposes or a sophomore?
That depends on your credits. And I think if I were you, what I would do is I would go, like these wonderful people have said, I would go to Wake Tech's Academic Advising and just take a look at what you've got under your belt so far. And they should be able to guide you in the right direction.
Yeah, we are definitely here to help you. I know Beth Ann is a great resource, and so is everybody at UNC, but we're also here. Some of these questions we might be able to answer a little bit better for you on the Wake Tech side of things. So please don't forget that we're definitely here as a resource for everybody, and we'll be happy to get you in touch with anybody if we don't know the answer, but great, Beth Ann. Yeah, we'd be happy to definitely step in and help those students.
Yeah.
All right. So next question. Is the sign up for shadowing UNC Chapel Hill on the website?
Good question. So when I mentioned that, I was talking about it in the context of C-STEP. So when you are admitted to C-STEP and you are actually in the program while you're at Wake Tech, that's when you could take advantage of our Shadow Day programming. It's not offered to just general UNC transfers.
Right. So next question, is the fall 2023 application open?
No, it's not open yet. It typically opens in mid to late August. Yeah. And you could start it right then. We will still need that official transcript that at that point would include your fall 2022 grades. So just keep that in mind.
All right. So let's see right here. I don't see any more questions on the Q&A.
Yeah, and Amanda, one of our advisors, she went ahead and dropped the Wake Tech Advising Office website in the Q&A. So if any students need to contact us for anything, our website is right there. We will also drop our contact information personally if you would prefer. But at this time, we are almost at the 10-minute mark to 11. And that's when the session is over. So please feel free to get in your last minute questions or comments for Beth. We do appreciate her time. And we will also be dropping the student survey so that we can get any feedback from you. So please do not forget to fill that out. But we'll give it just a couple more minutes, Beth, to see if anybody wants to ask any last minute questions.
Sure.
All right, well, I don't see anything else coming in. Again, if there's something that comes up for anyone out there and that you forgot to ask, maybe during this presentation, Wake Tech advisors are always here for you. We can put you in touch with Beth or someone else at the school. And we will also, in about a week, upload this presentation to our YouTube channel. So you can feel free to find that on our Wake Tech Academic Advising website. And I think we might have just gotten a new one. Okay, we do have a new question. It says, how do you evaluate course repeats or grade replacements?
Great question. It depends on the individual student. So like I said, we review completely holistically. It depends on your situation and, but I mean, in general, if you didn't do super well the first time and then the second time you hit it out of the park, we'll take the second round for what it was. I mean, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of grit to try something again. So we definitely take that into consideration as well. So all in all, it's a good sign. Yeah, it's a good thing.
All right, thank you. We do have a question. The question is probably something both of us can sort of answer. It's, what is the articulation agreement? Beth, I don't know if you want to kind of say anything about that, and I can jump in as needed, but I'll let you kind of start if you want to.
Sure. So I guess I'll give a little bit of an overview, but it's, like I said before, it's kind of a Pandora's box. There's a lot of different things that have to do with this, but essentially, as you are earning your associate's degree, if you earn your associate's degree, complete all of the requirements towards that associate's degree, and you get a solid C or higher in all of those courses, you earn the articulation agreement. And there's a lot of benefits to it, but specifically, you would come to any of the 17 four-year institutions in North Carolina, public institutions within the UNC system, with a block of 60 credit hours, which guarantees your gen eds are met, which is huge when you are moving forward as a transfer. And you would also be guaranteed to be a junior when you arrive there as well. So, for example, if you came to Carolina without the articulation agreement, like I've said before, you might come in as a second semester sophomore, you might come in as a junior, but you won't have all of those gen eds taken care of. So you might have 3 to 9 hours or more of gen eds to take at Carolina that you could have gotten taken care of at Wake Tech with that agreement. So that obviously saves a ton of time and possibly money and effort, versus if you came in with all of those gen eds, you could really pursue what you wanted to do rather than being weighed down by those gen eds. And if you have,
exactly.
like I said, you should definitely talk with the Wake Tech advisors more about this. You can also find information about it online, but it can get a little bit in the weeds and a little bit complicated. So it's always helpful to talk to a person face to face or Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, and again, we're here for you. But basically, it's an agreement that we have statewide with the universities, all the public universities. So we can go into more depth about it if you want to meet with an advisor here at Wake Tech. But at this time, is there any other questions before we close out? We do want to thank Beth again for her time and effort today. Thank you so much for being here and answering our questions. And please don't forget to fill out the survey that I put in the chat box. And you can also contact Wake Tech Advising or Beth. We have that in the Q&A chat box as well. Let's see. Do I have to get a C or higher the first time around? My answer would be no. You probably have to. You would just have to retake the class. I'm assuming it's just, yeah. Yeah, if you don't get a C or higher your first attempt or even maybe second attempt, as long as you retake it and you get that C or higher, then that would count as a transfer credit or class.
Good question.
All right. Okay, and any other questions? All right. Well, at this time, we will let Beth go. Again, thank you. And if you have questions or need to get Beth's contact information, please just contact Wake Tech Advisors, and we will definitely get you in touch with her or someone else. But thank you so much for attending today. And Beth, we will be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You too.
Good one.